Hi, guys. Welcome to the recap show. Today's movie recap will cover a 2014 crime drama mystery movie named Blue Family. Sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy. Blue Family's first scene begins in a dining room with Armando, the movie's main cast, telling a deep blue sea story to his captive Julia. He rants on and on about his experience with his deadbeat mother until he somehow links his sadness turned happiness to Julia being in his life. Julia, his captive on the other side of the table, smiles at him as he confesses his undying love for her. Before she gets to speak, Armando leaves his chair to unlock the chains off Julia's left arm. When he does so, he returns to his table and proposes a toast to a new beginning. Unfortunately for him, Julia doesn't pick up her glass. This annoys Armando as he gets up from his chair and hits the poor girl. He gets back to his chair and raises his glass for another toast. This time, Julia spills her champagne and gets punished direly for the act. In the next scene, Armando wakes up 2 days later and rushes to his basement to see Julia. When he gets there, he apologizes for his action 2 nights ago and tries to get her to talk to him. Julia, however, remains silent the whole time and watches the psycho blab about himself. When she finally responds, Armando smiles and promises to get her a roommate. A few hours into the day, Armando approaches a very beautiful lady beside her car and speaks to her. After a chit-chat with the psycho, Armando gets invited to Jessica's morning run the next day. By nightfall in his basement, Armando puts on some Bach music and teases Julia, who is tied up in chains. He picks up a burning candle and pours the wax on her shoulder. The next day, Armando gets to run with the hottie Jessica. In a cross scene, Julia is seen documenting and inscribing some information on the walls of the basement. She tries screaming out loud but doesn't get any help. When Armando finishes his run with Jessica, he invites her on a date that night and she accepts his invitation. Meanwhile, Julia peeks to the outside world from a hole in the basement. A couple of hours later, Armando and Jessica arrive at his auto sales shop. Armando sees a woman posting a missing persons poster for her daughter. He walks to comfort her and collects a poster so he'd look good in front of Jessica. By nightfall, Armando and Jessica get to have the time of their lives as they drink and dance to some salsa music at a bar. When it all ends, Armando walks Jessica to the car park and teases her a little bit before knocking her out. When Jessica comes to, she finds herself in the same basement as Julia. She gets aware of the eerie surroundings and sees Julia, who she talks to. Julia tells Jessica that she was Armando's property now, and that she should try to stay as quiet as possible. Before they finish their discussion, Armando walks in and tries to violate Jessica. Thankfully, Daniel pays him a visit before anything demeaning happens. Armando rushes upstairs to attend to his brother and successfully chases him away after he hears a scream from the basement. Jessica, on the other hand, kept screaming to see if someone would hear her. When she realizes it's all futile, Jessica settles down and asks Julia how long she's been trapped under there with the psycho. Julia says that she's lost count. That night, Armando bathes a hopeless Julia and recounts his promises of a bright future for the both of them. The next day, Darren, Armando's neighbor, visits him and has a friendly chat with him. After complaining about how rough having kids is, Armando invites him over to some dinner by the weekend, and Darren accepts his offer. Later on, Armando and Daniel discuss Aaron, Daniel's crush, over a drink at the bar. Aaron, who seemed to be head over heels for the two boys, smiles back at them when they glance at her. Back in the basement, Julia tells Jessica about Armando and his disturbing idea of a family he seeks to create with the two of them. Jessica then proposes that the two of them find a way out of the predator's clutches. Julia agrees with her and tells her that they have to be smart. In the next scene, Armando and Daniel talk with Aaron, who seemed to be very much interested in their conversation. When their drinks come, the trio enjoys them to the max. Fast forward to the next day, Jessica tries to alert Sheila, the neighbor across the street, by flashing a torch at her from the hole in the basement wall. Sadly for her, this fails woefully. That night, Aaron gets invited over to Armando's and has dinner with the psycho and his brother. Little did she know, she was about to be abducted. Armando spikes her drink when she gets distracted and waits till the poor girl passes out. Daniel tries to help her back to her feet, but Armando tells him he spiked her drink so he could add her to his new female collection in his basement. A couple of minutes later, Armando chains Aaron to a bed in the basement and introduces Daniel to his remaining guests. Daniel walks back upstairs, shocked about the realization, but is stopped by his brother, who reminds him that since he's seen the ladies, he's now an accomplice. Daniel doesn't take his nonsense as he tries walking out on his brother. However, Armando stops him again and convinces him to remain silent on the matter. Daniel stays the night over there and is woken up by the doorbell the next morning by Sheila. Sheila leaves almost immediately when she notices the unusual vibe from Daniel. Once Sheila leaves, Daniel returns to the basement and sees Armando knocked out on the floor. A while later, Armando comes to and tells Daniel that the girls need to be taught a lesson. Daniel asks his brother to cut the ladies some slack, but Armando bans him from the basement, seeing his brother wasn't fully in support of his way of life. After talking to his little brother, Armando gets a lamp, walks down to the dark basement, and maltreats his victims. When he gets to Julia to maltreat her, Jessica quickly tells him that she was pregnant with his baby. Armando stops his demeaning act and moves close to the poor girl. He brings her upstairs into his room and caresses her, telling her she made him the happiest man alive. In the next scene, Jessica engages Aaron in a discussion. She finds out Aaron has a daughter she had to leave behind before coming to that town. Jessica asks her new roomie to tell her about her daughter. Aaron breaks into tears as she tells Jessica just how much she misses her baby girl. Later in the day, Armando brings Julia back to the basement and chains her to the bed. He talks to her a bit and walks back upstairs. He then tells Daniel to cook up something while he steps into the supermarket to buy some groceries. Back in the basement, Jessica accuses Julia of being in love with Armando, seeing how comfy she was feeling around the animal. Julia tries to tell them that she had no choice but to be in the psycho's good graces. However, Jessica and Aaron don't buy her story as they stand their ground. When Julia's had it with her accusations, she recounts her experience with Armando and tells them she was once like them, full of energy and hope of escaping one day. Unfortunately for her, things didn't pan out well for her as she was now carrying the monster's child in her belly. While the girls argue downstairs, Daniel watches a news report showcasing Julia's mother reminding the public of her daughter's missing status. Turns out the mother posting the missing persons flyer earlier on was Julia's mother. After watching the news, Daniel gets to the basement and sees Julia. He has a friendly chat with the poor girl and makes her smile. That night, Armando bathes Julia, chains her to his bed, and steps back to the basement to get Jessica. When he gets back with contestant number 2, he has his way with her in the shower. The next morning, Armando leaves Julia and Jessica on his bed and prepares for work. Later on, Daniel grooms Aaron in the basement and discusses his crush with her. When it's time for breakfast, Daniel and Julia prepare some food for all of them with Armando acting like he's the boss of the house as he reads the morning paper. After breakfast is served, Armando sees Jessica trying to send a signal to someone outside the kitchen window. He quietly walks her to her and brings her back to the table. As they chow down on their breakfast, Armando takes Jessica back to his room and ties her to the wall to punish her for her actions earlier. Her screams could be heard at the breakfast table as the other ladies eat their food in tears. When Armando finishes his business with Jessica, he takes a drink and tells his brother to take the remaining ladies back to the basement. When he gets the girls back there, Julia reminds him to be very careful of his brother, as Armando could terminate even his own brother to protect his secret. Daniel agrees with her and returns upstairs to his brother. When he gets there, Armando accuses him of trying to ruin things for him. Daniel looks surprised as he asks where all this came from. Armando tells Daniel he knows about his little brother's crush on Julia. He then warns him never to get too close to Julia since she was already carrying his baby. Seeing that he's got his point across, Armando smashes a glass cup on Daniel's head, knocking him out. Following this act, Armando gets to the basement to play with an uninterested Julia. After his playful act, he gets back to his brother who's in the bathroom tub. Armando cleans Daniel up and tells him that things would be fine if he cooperates with him. Daniel agrees to his terms and surrenders Julia to his big brother. A few hours later, Daniel has a little time with the ladies in the basement and games with his big brother that evening. When they finish a round in the game, Daniel offers to get drinks for the both of them. On getting to the kitchen, Daniel spikes Armando's drinks with the same substance he used on Aaron. Moments later, Armando passes out on the bed. Daniel quietly pries into his pocket and steals a key from Armando. The next morning, Armando is woken up by Julia's screams from the basement. He rushes down and tends to a pretending Julia. Daniel joins him and urges him to take her to the hospital. Armando gets his keys and leaves for the pharmacy with Daniel. When the girls realize he's gone, Julia takes the keys Daniel left in the cooler near her bed. She unchains herself and runs to the front door. Unable to find the correct key for the lock, Julia calls for help from Darren, who is passing by at the time. When he walks to the door, she urges him to open the front door. Darren opens the front door and follows Julia downstairs to unchain the remaining ladies. While they're at it, Daniel and Armando arrive back home only to see the 3 ladies already freed from their captivity. Before Armando could do anything, the cops arrived and arrested both him and his brother. A few years into the future, it is revealed that Julia gave birth to a bouncing baby girl. In the final scene of the movie, Julia is seen playing with her little girl on a swing as she smiles at a second chance at life. Thanks for watching, guys! Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to receive future recaps.